My name is Cody Bowen, born and raised in Fayette County, Ohio, in a small town called Washington Courthouse. Population is roughly 14,200 people. My story is a lot like everyone else's story. There's extreme trauma that led to a mental health issue that led to an addiction. You see, I was molested by my cousin around 9 or 10 years old. I can remember calling my mother and wanting to tell her what had happened, but the words just would not come out. I began to rebel at this age. This is also around the same time that I was arrested for the first time. See, not only was there sexual assault that had taken place, but there was also physical abuse. I coped with all of the issues and things that were going on in my life by drinking and using drugs. At 16, trying to balance school, work, and bills, things were a little rough and rocky, and I quickly found out that Burger King just was not going to pay my bills. Through being in this circle and around certain individuals, I found out that selling cocaine and ecstasy were ways to make even quicker money. In high school, I was literally the life of the party. I tried to be something that I wasn't. I felt the need to use drugs and alcohol as a way to make myself feel like a man from the manhood that had been stripped from me. At 17 years old, my leg was broke in 2 places. I got a metal plate, 9 screws and 2 pins. I was prescribed Percocets at this time. This started a 17-year-long love affair. I tried my best to hide it. I would still work a full-time job. I was still selling stuff on the side. In my mind, I didn't have an issue because my bills were paid and I was getting up and going to work every day. Fast forward a few years down the road, I met my now ex-wife. She got pregnant with our twin daughters, Kennedy and Reagan. I decided then that since I had children coming into this world, I was going to try and clean up my act. That worked until it didn't. I continued to use. There was marital issues between my wife and I. We ended up separating. I ended up getting full custody of my twins from their mother because I did a way better job at hiding it than she did. There was a point in time where my daughters and I lived in a house with no electric, no water. I wanted to get clean desperately. I just couldn't do it. I mean, who really wants to be a drug addict and live with their kids in a house with no electric and no water? I ended up going to heroin, something that I swore I would never do. One day, a friend of mine and I took $20 and split it. Went and got us our fix. We did the drug in a restaurant parking lot. We went to a cousin of mine's house, and I remember getting out of the truck and feeling like I was heavily intoxicated. I felt really drunk. The next thing I know, I'm being woke up and being pushed into the back of an ambulance. I overdosed that day on $10 worth of heroin. It took 4 doses of Narcan to bring me back. My sister, who was there that day, said that I was dead for about 15 minutes. I was turning purple and was stiff when the EMTs came there that day. I was instantly stricken with shame. I started crying. I put a sheet over my head. The woman that was supposed to pick my children up from the bus stop came into my room and told me that Children's Services was there waiting to take my girls. I attempted to leave the hospital. I became emotionally combative. The doctor tried to get me to lay down and relax. I pushed him out of the way, and behind him stood a woman, and she told me that if I wanted help that day, she could get me into treatment. And I realized that since my kids were gone, I had no excuse not to go now. I didn't ask where I was going, if I could smoke cigarettes, if it was co-ed, if I could have my phone. I was ready for a change. I left from the hospital. I went to treatment for 8 months. I completely cut myself off from anybody and everybody that used, got high. I started attending meetings, got a sponsor, actually went through a couple sponsors, did my steps. And I wanted to help individuals like that are in our town, because I've seen so many people die. So many people had overdosed and were gone and didn't get the chance that I had had. And then June 4th happened. You see, my wife and I were no longer together. We were estranged, but we were still married. Well, she overdosed. So telling my then 7-year-old daughters that their mother's dead is quite possibly the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. I made a Facebook Live asking for people to donate because I was responsible for the funeral arrangements. I got a weird, off-the-wall phone call from a weird number, and it was a gentleman that goes by the name of Tim Ryan. that offered to pay for the funeral, the cremation, and everything in full. I'd never met this man, and out of the kindness of his heart, paid for the funeral of a woman that he had never met. My kids got to say goodbye to their mom that day. You know, when they were taken from me, we had experienced homelessness, sleeping in a garage, having no electric, no water, being at my mom's on the floor, and being able to bring them back to a home that I paid for, that God gave me, is one of the biggest highlights of my sobriety. You know, when we're in addiction, when we're using, or when we're in that darkness, it literally consumes us and we think that that's who we are. Our mind tells us that we're stuck. You don't have to be. Like, there's freedom to be found. Like, you can overcome it. This is genuine. I don't have to use a substance when I wake up. I don't have to fill a void because it's already filled. I don't have to get high on anything to get joy or have peace. What I do want to stress to those that are in the darkness, if you don't hear anything else that I say, listen to this. You cannot beat this on your own. Any type of addiction, any type of darkness, you can't do it on your own. And you have to completely strip everything out of your life and rebuild. Say a wall caves in your house. You can't just fix half the wall. You got to tear the whole thing down and start over. Fresh. You have to change people, places, and things. You have to start a new life. After development, there's always a disassociation. Caterpillars do not hang out with butterflies. Find a group of winners, people that want to keep you accountable and help you and genuinely care about you and want to see you go in a good direction, and stay with them. Don't think you can beat it on your own, because we are the ones that get ourselves in that mess. So what would make us think that we could do it on our own? You can't. Completely rebuild your life. Completely tear the house down. Get rid of the junk. Leave it. Talk about it. Express it. I wish I'd have known what I know now when I was getting touched as a kid. To know, to talk about it. Like, am I the only person that was ever sexually molested? No. Our stories can impact people's lives. And we can sit here and talk about how we want the world to be a better place all day, but if we don't get off our rear ends and start opening our mouths and talking about it, nothing's going to change. And if nothing changes and the world stays the way it is, then all of our children are going to go through that junk and that crap. And that's the last thing I want as a parent. So we need to start speaking up, get it out. It can start now, right now. I don't care if you have one day clean. If you have an idea or something you could do to change somebody's life or make an impact, roll with it. Don't let people shut you down and stop you. If you've got one day and you've got an idea, vocalize it, because God will put the right people in your path. If I'd have listened, we call it OPO, other people's opinions, 143 people wouldn't have got help. 143 people wouldn't have gotten an opportunity to change their life around. There's no other freeing experience than being able to wake up and go about your day for multiple years and not need a substance. How free is that? No weight, no burdens. Now, that doesn't mean life's easy. It doesn't mean it's unicorns, crap, and rainbows. Like, life can be hard. But with that whole rebuilding, with your starting with your foundation, you'll have ones around you to help build you up and pick you up. I'd be sitting here lying to you if I said everything was peachy and great. No, it's hard, but it's hard because it's worth it. A lot of times people are turned away from pain. There needs to be times where we embrace it. There cannot be growth without what? Growing pains. It's gonna hurt. That's like the root word of surrender, means to rip apart. This whole process is messy, but that's what's beautiful about it. That's what's absolutely amazing. Something so hard, and yet the end reward is something so beautiful. We get so caught up on it's gotta look perfect, it's gotta be perfect. No, it don't. Wake up and be just that much better today than you were yesterday, and watch how your life starts changing. One step in front of the other. This all goes with the one foot in front of the other. I needed a vehicle badly. There were a brother and sister that we sent to treatment. The day I was like praying to God for a vehicle, I need transportation, people need rides to treatment, get it. This woman called me and told me that God had put it on her heart to give me a car. Not just any car, a Cadillac. Like, I was selling dope and didn't have a Cadillac. God, I told my pastor the other day, God made me put the baggies back before he gave me a Cadillac. It's all about doing the next right thing. Keep moving, keep pushing forward. Like, it can be beat. It can happen. You can attest to that, I can attest to that. Stop in here on a Sunday morning and meet a couple of other individuals that can attest to it. We could spark a generation of change. Generations of curses and bondage can be broken. But we've got to make that first decision to do it and leave the excuses behind. Just keep doing the next right thing. It takes care of itself. So I began putting my feelers out to local churches to see if there was anybody interested in becoming a part of the solution. People have said that I didn't have enough length of sobriety to help anybody. Nobody would listen to me because I didn't have a college degree. No one would ever ask for help on social media. Several churches told me that too many people would know me and recognize me from my past. No one would ever help. People had tried to start programs and nothing had worked. It was a waste of time. So there came an area where I gave up looking for someone to help and said that God would send the next people that he wanted with me, to me. That's what led me to Bible Baptist Temple, Andrew Johnson and Lynn Jackson. They actually listened. They wanted to become a part of the solution. And as of today, 143 people have went to treatment and or detox and have made the first step to change their lives. You see, it can be difficult to get into treatment. You can be told you don't have the right insurance. You have to go through certain qualifications. You got to wait on a bed to be available. But what we do is we go through all the legwork and all the footwork to assist somebody, and we have 100% placement success. We've had several events here in our community that people have gotten scholarships to treatment and are still sober to this day. Tyler Pack, Jake Wilson, Josh Taylor. I could sit here and literally go on for hours and hours and hours about the people that have overcome this demon. If you're in a dark place, if you're hurting, if you're having trouble finding any positives to your life, you need to reach out, because there is a way out and there is hope, and you are not alone. Thank you and God bless.